We're going to continue working with the night mode block. Currently, the only way to turn on night mode is through the toolbar. That's perfectly fine, but you may want to provide this option in the sidebar. Determining where an option is placed is a user experience design decision. Therefore, that's beyond the scope of the course. It's a case-by-case thing, and so I'll leave it up to you where you think it should be placed. For now, let's just say that we wanted this option to be present in the sidebar. It's completely possible and allowed to have the same option available in multiple locations. To get started, we're going to need to tell WordPress we'd like to add in some content to the sidebar when the block is selected. We already know how to do this with the Inspector Controls component. Let's load that in. Open the index.js file for the night mode block. At the top, destructure the Inspector Controls component from the wp.editor object. We're also going to need some generic components from the wp.components object. Destructure the panel body, panel row, and form toggle components. I'm introducing a new component here called form toggle. This is a custom form field that will allow the user to toggle a value. You'll see how it works soon enough. The next step would be to create the attribute. However, it doesn't make sense to have two values for night mode. We'll just use the same attribute for the button. Let's just head on over to the edit function. Since we'll be using the Inspector Controls component, then we'll need to return array instead of the block. Right above the block, I'm going to use the Inspector Controls, panel body, and panel row components. A lot of this should be familiar to you. I'm setting the title to night mode and making it translatable. We're going to use the panel row component as the form toggle component we're about to use requires the formatting provided by this component. Inside the panel row component, add the form toggle component. First, let's assign the ID attribute. I'm going to set this to udemy-recipe-night-mode-toggle. Then we'll need to set the checked attribute. This needs to be either true or false. We'll set this to the night mode attribute. Next, we'll need to set the onChange attribute. What will happen if the user clicks on this field? We'll want to update the night mode attribute. This will be the exact same code we used for the button in the toolbar. Here's the problem though. We're rewriting the logic in two different places. It would be better to make this into a reusable function. Above the return statement, create a constant named toggle night mode. Cut and paste the function from the onClick event. Now that we have a reusable function, let's set the onChange and onClick events to the toggle night mode function. Before we declare this complete, the form toggle component will not generate a label, so we'll need to do that ourselves. Right above the component, add the label tag. The text inside should be set to night mode that will also be translate ready. I'm also going to set the for attribute. However, for is a reserved keyword in JavaScript, so we'll need to use the HTML for attribute instead. This is one of those React quirks. The value for this should be the ID of the input field. In this case, it would be udemy-recipe-night-mode-toggle. We're finished. Save your changes and cd into the blocks directory. Run the npm run dev command. You shouldn't receive any errors so far. Go ahead and try creating a new recipe post. You should be able to add the night mode block without a problem. With the block selected, you should see the button appear in the toolbar and the form toggle field in the sidebar. This is fantastic. If you were to click on the toggle, then you'll see that night mode is enabled. The button will also be turned on. You can click these in any order you want. Everything should stay in sync. WordPress will be able to manage everything for you. All you have to do is take the time to tie everything up. Once again, it's up to you to decide where these options should be placed. My advice would be to not clutter the toolbar. You want everything to be intuitive as possible. Alright, that does it for now. In the next couple of lectures, I'll introduce you to some of the other components for creating input fields.